The Mafia didn't start as an empire. It started as a mess, too many bosses, too much violence, and no rules. Then 3 men rewrote everything. Lucky Luciano ended the old world blood feuds. Meyer Lansky followed the money and made crime invisible. Carlo Gambino proved that power lasts longest when no one knows your name. 3 men. No crowns. No thrones. They didn't just run the Mafia. They ruled America's underworld and built a system that still exists today. They thought putting him in prison would end his reign, but even from a concrete cell, Lucky Luciano was still deciding who lived, who died, and who ran New York. Charles "Lucky" Luciano didn't just become a powerful mob boss. He rewrote the rules of organized crime. Before Luciano, the Mafia was chaotic, ruled by old grudges, blood feuds, and rigid traditions brought over from Sicily. After Luciano, crime became corporate, structured, efficient, and brutally profitable. Every modern crime family, every commission meeting, every organized syndicate that followed, all of it traces back to him. And here's the shocking part most people don't know. Luciano didn't fall because of a rival mobster. He fell because of women, politics, and a prosecutor who wanted to make a name. This is the rise, reign, and exile of the man who built the American Mafia. And it starts on the streets. Charles "Lucky" Luciano was born in 1897 in a small town in Sicily with a long history of poverty and Mafia influence. Luciano immigrated to New York City as a kid who spoke no English and had no protection. Lower East Side. Crowded tenements. Gangs everywhere. Luciano struggled in school and dropped out at an early age. By his teenage years he was already involved in street crime, gambling, extortion, and protection rackets. He quickly learned an important lesson. Violence alone didn't build power, organization did. Instead of picking sides by ethnicity like most kids did, Luciano made a radical choice. He worked with everyone. Luciano's early criminal career overlapped with Jewish gangs operating in New York. Unlike older Sicilian mobsters who refused to work outside their ethnicity, Luciano saw alliances as tools. One of his most important early relationships was with a Jewish kid named Meyer Lansky, a math-obsessed hustler who understood money the way Luciano understood people. Together, they ran small rackets, dice games, protection scams, bootlegging before it was fashionable. Luciano learned something early. Power didn't come from muscle alone. It came from alliances. That lesson would change organized crime forever. But first, he had to survive the old world. By the time Prohibition hit, the Mafia was split between 2 worlds. On one side, the old-school Sicilian bosses, obsessed with tradition, bloodlines, and revenge. On the other, younger gangsters like Luciano who cared about profit, not pride. This tension exploded between Giuseppe "Joe the Boss" Masuria and rival boss Salvatore Maranzano. It erupted into what became known as the Castellamarese War, and a violent power struggle that turned New York into a battlefield. Bosses were getting gunned down in the streets. Trust meant nothing. Everyone knew the war couldn't last. Luciano saw the truth before anyone else did. As long as the old bosses were alive, no one would ever truly win. Luciano made a calculated decision, a move that shocked even hardened mobsters. Luciano arranged the murder of his own boss Joe the Boss in 1931 during a meeting in a New York restaurant. Shortly afterward, Maranzano was also murdered, clearing the way for a complete restructuring of the Mafia. Not in a dramatic shootout. Not in a public spectacle. It was quiet, efficient, final. In one calculated sweep, Luciano ended the war by eliminating both sides. It wasn't chaos, it was strategy. And from that moment on, the Mafia would never be the same. But Luciano wasn't interested in being boss of bosses. He had a bigger idea. Luciano abolished the old system of a single boss of bosses. In its place, he created the Commission, a governing body made up of leaders from major Mafia families. This reduced internal conflict and created mechanisms for dispute resolution. He also formalized the 5 families of New York, each with defined leadership structures. Crime became regulated. Violence became strategic, not emotional. Luciano had effectively turned organized crime into a national syndicate organization. But power attracts attention. And Luciano was about to face an enemy he couldn't intimidate or buy. In 1936, New York prosecutor Thomas E. Dewey targeted Luciano in a major crackdown. He was young, ambitious, and hungry for headlines. Dewey knew he couldn't get Luciano on murder, couldn't tie him directly to bootlegging. So he went after something else. Using testimony from prostitutes and madams, Dewey accused Luciano of running a massive prostitution ring. Luciano insisted the witnesses were lying. Many later claimed they were pressured. But it didn't matter. The trial was a spectacle. The press loved it. The jury was convinced. Lucky Luciano, the most powerful crime boss in America, was sentenced to 30 to 50 years in prison. The king was gone, or so everyone thought. Even behind bars, Luciano's influence didn't disappear. Orders still traveled. Money still flowed. Respect remained intact. Then World War II changed everything. U.S. intelligence feared sabotage in New York's docks, and they knew one group controlled the waterfront: the Mafia. Luciano cooperated with U.S. authorities to secure New York's docks against sabotage. In exchange, his sentence would be commuted. It worked. And in one of the strangest chapters in American history, the U.S. government quietly partnered with the Mafia. But freedom came with a cost. Luciano wasn't released into New York. He was deported to Italy, never allowed to return. Officially, his American empire was over. Unofficially, he kept pulling strings. From Italy, and later Cuba, Luciano tried to reassert control. But pressure from U.S. authorities followed him everywhere. Eventually, even his allies began to move on. The world he built no longer needed him. And that might have been the cruelest punishment of all. Lucky Luciano died quietly of a heart attack in Naples, Italy in 1962 at age 64. No shootout. No public reckoning. Just a man who changed crime forever, and lived long enough to watch it continue without him. His greatest achievement was not wealth or fear, it was structure. The system he designed would endure long after his death. He ended mafia wars. He modernized organized crime. He proved power didn't require a throne, just influence. And yet, if he'd never created the system, would the mafia have collapsed on its own? Or did Lucky Luciano accidentally make it immortal? That question is why his story still matters, and why the next name on this list will be even more dangerous. While other mob bosses died in the streets or rotted in prison, Meyer Lansky did something no one else could. He walked away rich, free, and untouchable. Meyer Lansky wasn't the loudest gangster. He wasn't the most feared. He rarely pulled a trigger. But make no mistake, organized crime as a business does not exist without him. Lucky Luciano built the structure. Al Capone brought the violence. Meyer Lansky brought the math. And here's the lesser-known truth that still shocks historians. Despite decades of investigations, wiretaps, and surveillance, the man known as the mob's accountant never spent a single day in prison. This is the story of how intelligence became power, and how Lansky outsmarted everyone who tried to stop him. Meyer Lansky was born on July 4, 1902 within the Russian Empire. His family fled anti-Semitic violence and immigrated to the United States in 1911, settling on the Lower East Side. Lansky was small, intelligent, and mathematically gifted. But unlike the kids around him, Meyer wasn't chasing street reputation. While others fought for territory, Lansky focused on numbers. He was watching patterns. Who paid? Who owed? Who cheated? Who survived? He had a natural gift for numbers, and an even sharper instinct for people. That's how he met a young Italian immigrant named Charles Lucky Luciano. While others fought over turf, Lansky and Luciano did something revolutionary. They worked together. Jewish, Italian. No loyalty to tradition. Just profit. And that partnership would quietly reshape the underworld. When Prohibition hit, most gangsters saw alcohol. Lansky saw infrastructure, supply chains, distribution routes, payment systems, risk management. While others focused on muscle, Lansky focused on efficiency. He helped build bootlegging networks that moved liquor like clockwork, minimizing violence, maximizing profit. And when Lucky Luciano reorganized the Mafia, it was Lansky who made sure the numbers made sense. Crime wasn't random anymore. It was optimized. But Lansky wasn't satisfied with New York. He was thinking bigger. Much bigger. Lansky understood something early. Gambling was the perfect crime. No stolen goods. No bodies required. And customers paid willingly. Lansky was instrumental in developing Las Vegas as a gambling hub. While Bugsy Siegel became the public face, Lansky helped arrange financing and oversight behind the scenes. He also expanded operations internationally, particularly in Cuba, where casinos and hotels generated enormous profits. Working with dictator Fulgencio Batista, Lansky helped turn Havana into a mob-run casino paradise. Money flowed in from American tourists. Cash flowed out, clean, laundered, and untraceable. And unlike other bosses, Lansky avoided flash. No gold cars. No headlines. Just quiet control. But the world was changing again. And this time, it wasn't law enforcement that broke his empire. It was a revolution. When Fidel Castro took power, the casinos were seized overnight. Years of planning, gone. Millions of dollars, lost. For the first time, Meyer Lansky looked vulnerable. U.S. authorities circled, convinced they could finally put him away. Tax evasion, racketeering, conspiracy. Case after case collapsed. Witnesses disappeared. Evidence fell apart. Money couldn't be traced. Lansky had designed his life to survive exactly this moment. But there was one final gamble, and it nearly destroyed him. Facing mounting pressure, Lansky attempted something no major mob figure had successfully done before. He tried to move to Israel, claiming citizenship under the law of return. For a moment it almost worked. Then came international backlash. Israel revoked his residency, calling him a threat. The message was clear. There was no safe haven left. Lansky returned to the United States. He was older. He was quieter, but still wealthy, and still free. Despite decades of investigation, Lansky was never convicted of major crimes. He was frequently questioned by the FBI and Senate committees, but his financial operations were notoriously difficult to trace. Meyer Lansky died of lung cancer in Miami Beach, Florida in 1983. Meyer Lansky died without prison bars, without public disgrace, without ever fully paying for what he built. He proved something terrifying. That intelligence can be deadlier than violence. That silence can be stronger than fear. And that the most powerful criminals aren't the ones we see, but the ones who understand the system better than anyone else. And it leaves one final question. If Meyer Lansky never pulled the trigger, is he less guilty or more responsible than the men who did? That answer leads directly to the next story. While other mob bosses were shot, arrested, or exposed on the front page, Carlo Gambino ruled for decades, and almost no one even knew his face. Carlo Gambino didn't build the Mafia. He didn't modernize it. He didn't make headlines. He perfected it. At the height of his power, Carlo Gambino controlled the largest crime family in America, without flash, without public violence, without ever serving serious prison time. Other bosses chased attention. Gambino avoided it. And here's the chilling truth. By the time law enforcement realized how powerful he was, it was already too late. This is the story of how the quietest man became the most untouchable boss in American history. Carlo Gambino was born in August 1902 in Palermo, Sicily, into a family with deep mafia ties. He immigrated to the United States illegally in 1921, settling in Brooklyn. Unlike Luciano, Gambino avoided attention from the start. He learned early that power wasn't loud. It was patient. He blended in. No street theatrics. No reckless ambition. Gambino worked under several mafia leaders and gained a reputation for patience and discretion. During the Castellamarese War, he aligned himself carefully with men who valued discipline. By the time Prohibition exploded, Gambino wasn't chasing power. He was positioning himself for it. And positioning in the Mafia is everything. The Mafia world around Gambino was chaos. Bosses were assassinated. Wars erupted. Egos ruined empires. But Gambino stayed invisible. While Lucky Luciano reshaped the system and Meyer Lansky ran the money, Gambino mastered something else. Longevity. He followed rules, avoided unnecessary violence, and never spoke more than he had to. That restraint paid off, because when power shifted, Gambino was still standing, and he was about to make the move that defined his legacy. The head of Gambino's family, Albert Anastasia, was feared, violent, and reckless, and that made him vulnerable. Behind closed doors, alliances formed. Conversations stayed quiet. Plans were never written down. Then one afternoon in 1957, Gambino orchestrated a bloodless coup against the boss. Anastasia was gunned down in a local barbershop, one of the most infamous mob hits in history. And when the smoke cleared, Carlo Gambino was in charge as the new leader of what would later bear his name, the Gambino crime family. But what Gambino did next is what made him truly dangerous. As boss, Gambino avoided attention at all costs. He didn't attend flashy events, didn't give interviews, didn't seek public recognition. He discouraged drug trafficking within his organization, limited violence, and prioritized long-term stability. Instead, he expanded quietly into construction, labor unions, ports, garment industries, Entire sectors of New York moved only with his approval. Violence was a last resort, not a strategy. Under his leadership, the Gambino family became the most powerful mafia family in the United States. And law enforcement struggled with a terrifying reality. You can't arrest what you can't see. No recordings. No witnesses. No mistakes. Carlo Gambino was turning organized crime into something far more dangerous. Legitimate-looking power. Despite extensive FBI surveillance, Gambino never served significant prison time. He was questioned repeatedly but charged rarely and convicted never. Gambino ruled longer than almost any boss in modern history. But even he couldn't control time. As his health declined, he made a decision that would haunt the Mafia for decades. He chose Paul Castellano as his successor. Not a street boss. Not a soldier. A businessman. That choice created resentment. And resentment breeds violence. But Carlo Gambino never lived to see the fallout. Carlo Gambino died peacefully, in his own home, surrounded by family in 1976 at the age of 74. No prison. No assassination. No public disgrace. His model of leadership, invisible, patient, insulated, proved to be the most sustainable. Luciano built the system. Meyer Lansky financed it. Carlo Gambino perfected it. Together, they transformed organized crime from fragmented gangs into a durable national network. Their influence shaped law enforcement tactics, federal legislation, and public perception of the Mafia for generations. Later figures would seek fame. Others would seek power through fear. But the foundation was already laid, quietly, deliberately, and permanently. In a world built on violence, Carlo Gambino proved the ultimate power move was survival. And his legacy leaves one unsettling question. If the most successful mob boss in history was the one no one noticed, how many more like him existed, and were never caught at all? That question leads directly to the man who destroyed everything Gambino built. The Mafia ruled from the shadows. Next time, we enter a world where power was louder, riskier, and closer to the street. Subscribe and turn on notifications for Underworld America.